I recently posted a video about the drama surrounding RomanceCon 2025, author Julie Soto and her book Rose in Chains, in which I said that Rose in Chains was not only in the #1 spot on the New York Times Bestsellers List, which only slightly relies on sales numbers, so it's also a USA Today bestseller, which is less prestigious but goes entirely on sales numbers. Apparently, the fact that the New York Times Bestsellers List is not actually a list of the best-selling books in the USA in that week was news to a lot of people. So, let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up. There are a number of requirements to be a New York Times bestseller, and sales numbers is one of those requirements. You have to sell a minimum of 10,000 books, probably more like 15,000 books, in a week in the US to even be considered for the list. It is also the case that you cannot just sell all of those books on one platform, so even if you sold 1 million copies of your book on Amazon, if you didn't sell any copies anywhere else, you still would not be eligible. What are the other requirements to get on the list? Nobody knows outside of the New York Times editorial team which is responsible for it. Even people in the same department who are not on that team have no idea. It is based on weekly sales reports obtained from selected samples of independent and chain bookstores and wholesalers throughout the United States. But how heavily sales numbers are weighted versus vibes is unknown. Their picking process isn't just a secret, it's protected as free speech by law. In 1983, the author of the book Legion, William Peter Blatty, tried to sue the New York Times for $6 million. His argument was basically, my book is a bestseller, it has really high sales. You have deliberately excluded me from your list, and by doing so, you have cost me money, because being a New York Times bestseller brings with it prestige and sales. And the Times' defense was as follows. Look, it's called the New York Times Bestseller List, but it's actually an editorial product, and thus, free speech. The courts agreed. Selling a lot of books is the most likely way to get you on the New York Times bestseller list, of course, but it's still not a guarantee. And it is also true that the system has been gamed in the past. Bear in mind in the future, if something says New York Times bestseller, that does mean that the book is likely to have shifted a significant amount of copies, but it doesn't mean that it's actually sold better than all of its peers. Welcome to publishing! It makes no sense here.